Hey guys, so I just wanted to make a video on kind of just, my thoughts on this guy's motive, why he did all this, the things that he could possibly do from this point forward. And, the reason why I say it, it's not just so people can understand and have a bit of an idea, but it's just for other people who have been in stalking situations so they can understand it better. And it's not to understand the stalker, it's to understand the situation and the psychology behind it and how to avoid, how to prevent going through what I went through and what others went through. Because a lot of the stuff that I went through, you can't find it. I've tried looking up so many different types of stalking cases, and I could not find one that was similar to the one of mine unless they were from a different country. There's a few stalking victims that I followed, well, not followed, but that I learned about. And there was one in the Philippines. A lot of them were Asian countries. So I'm wondering if this creep learned from that. Because like I said, he's not that smart. The way he got caught, he didn't learn this on his own. Somebody told him this idea, whether he watched the show You, because, a lot of the things that the guy does in there is very similar to what this guy does, like just the entitlement, the creepiness, like the psychology behind his brain, the way he just thinks that he's entitled to anything that he wants, and if he doesn't get it, he's gonna harm it. You know what I mean? Like that type of psychotic mentality. But, I've Googled, and there's other stalking cases that are similar, but I mean, nothing to the point of where the target's son was catfished, where their friends and family were hacked, and if they couldn't hack them, he created new accounts of them. And, it's not really that hard. If you have a profile picture and let's say 3 pictures available to the public, that's all he needs. That's it. And if you're not a person with my awareness and this supposed person, you're going to add them just like I did. That's how it happened to me. When you don't have no awareness of people doing this type of thing, yeah, it was really easy as to how this guy managed to get into my accounts and all that. And, it's not rocket science. A lot of people sit here and just they think of it so simple until they learn, the details and all that. And then they're like, whoa, that's some next level stuff. And then when they hear about how I caught him and how I keep catching him and how I know it's him and all that, they can pretty much see how stupid he is too, especially when they're all like, how does he think that he's how does he think that he's actually fooling you? When every time that he's reached out to you, you've always known it's him, I could always say the reasons as to why I knew it was him, but it wouldn't really make sense. It's just a feeling that I got, I never was harassed or followed by anybody, and this is the only guy that does it. And I just think it's funny that he just, and everybody else does too. He really makes a profile and sits there being like, she won't know it's me. She'll think it's someone else. And he's still doing that. It's amazing the stupidity this guy is. So when, people learn about what he all did, the only thing that's smart about it is that nobody else thinks to do it. Other people have jobs. Other people have lives. They have families. They have work. This guy, as far as I know, he's completely alone. He doesn't have, I think he has kids as far as I know, but it doesn't surprise me. None of them are in his life. His exes are in his life. If he's treated me this way and I didn't even date him, how the heck did he treat, his baby mamas or his ex-girlfriends and all that? I can only imagine what he put them through. And then he grew an obsession and got fixated. And like I mentioned, it has nothing to do with how I look, with my personality. He sensed a vulnerability out of me. And, it took me a while to figure it out because I'm just like, what made him think I fit the profile? I was very nice to him until he made me snap. And I don't think he was expecting that. I think he was expecting me to just bow down to him and, give in to whatever he was doing. But at the time, I wasn't talking to my parents. They and I were in a bit of a tussle. It's a long story, but because of this situation, we have been reunited. We're back in the picture. We're talking to each other, and it's a blessing. But you know, when I talked to my dad about it, and he really obsessed over the whole, why did he choose you, and why did he not ever stop? And I tried telling him, I said, Dad, when I met him, you and I weren't talking at all. And he was under the impression that we were never going to talk again, just given by some of the things that I was saying, right? Because I had no idea. And my dad understands this too, and he knows that as well. And then I said, the reason why I think he never stopped stalking was because him pretending to be my friends and family, he got insider information on, whether or not I was still talking to my family, which family members I was talking to, like seeing in person, right? And, sorry, my kid just interrupted me. But anyways, I said to him, I said, he was under the impression that I didn't have an outside support family or support system. And that's the key thing. That's what these guys go after, is people that they think won't help them, people that they think won't look for them, and people that they think won't support them or even listen to them, for that matter. So he slowly over time planned something really sinister, took his time, and he almost got away with it. If I didn't have any awareness of this guy, like let's say I truly didn't know he was stalking me, he would have got away with it, and he would have showed up at my house. And I don't know to this day. That's why I'm making this TikTok, and that's why I'm taking this, because I was home alone with my daughter, and it raises a bunch of questions, and it raised alarms to my parents. They were just like, what was he going to do? Was he going to take you? Was he going to hurt you? Was he hoping he was going to get away because of the missing and murdered Indigenous women and how we don't get looked at, how we get thrown under the rug every time one of us goes missing or gets murdered? And that's what my dad said. I called it out beforehand. When I first found out about this and I first thought that he was coming, knew that he was coming to my house, when I messaged one of his accounts after and I said, holy, touche, good job, buddy, you really got me there. Yeah, you're so smart. I said, what were you going to do? Did you really think you were going to get away coming and harming me? And you were going to get away because I'm a Native person? And that thought kind of stuck with me. But the fact that my dad said it, and he's a white man, and he's that type of stuff has disgusted him ever since I was little, just women going missing, and not just murdered Indigenous women. I'm talking about just any person going missing, any woman that's a subject to these types of predators, whether or not they want to harm them. It disgusts him. So when they found out about this last year, they might have felt a little guilty for not being physically in my life at the moment. I was also being very stubborn. But, my dad did say, Diamond, the only reason he went after you is because he thought I wasn't around. And that's exactly what it was. There's no other reason why, because I was strong-willed. I had boundaries. I did not let this guy walk over me whatsoever. He tried gaslighting me. He tried love bombing me. He tried pulling the whole myself if you don't date me. And then that's when I snapped, because I had a friend unalive herself. You don't play that stuff with me, especially when it's something to do with trying to manipulate me to do something. And then after that, shit hit the fan. But the point of this video was just to kind of, I still have more to say about this subject, about why he did it, his motivation and all that, just theories and stuff like that. But for the most part, that conclusion came a couple days ago when I was talking to my dad, and it rang a bell. It rang a huge bell, and it made a lot of sense.